fading light of dusk, Kaori found herself drawn to the outskirts of a valley, where an abandoned medieval village lay shrouded in an almost palpable mist. The name of the place whispered through local legends as the Village of Shadows, a moniker that evoked images of spectral lament and silent sorrow. As she journeyed through overgrown pathways and past crumbling stone cottages, the chill that seeped into her bones was accompanied by the somber toll of distant church bells. Each step fueled her curiosity and dread, as the ancient structures and twisted trees seemed to observe her with an eerie knowing presence. Kaori's path had been uncertain ever since she lost her way on the winding roads of life. A bittersweet pause, forced upon her by a series of melancholic losses, drawn by the rumor of a curse that had befallen this forsaken enclave. She resolved to uncover the secrets lying hidden beneath its dilapidated facade. The mystery promised not only answers to the riddles of the past, but perhaps a reflection of her own inner torment. Night was descending, and with it came a silence so deep that it seemed to swallow her cautious footsteps, each echo a somber hymn to the haunted history that awaited her exploration. The village, seemingly suspended in time, revealed relics that spoke of both grandeur and despair. Weathered signs and cryptic symbols were etched into ancient stones, hinting at rituals both archaic and ominous. As Kaori approached what appeared to have once been a bustling square, she noticed faded portraits hanging askew on the walls of a ruined manor. Their eyes, though etched in paint and time, seemed to follow her every move, a painful reminder of the human stories, now trapped in a long-lost era. The interplay of shadow and light deepened the spectral tableau, evoking an overwhelming feeling of melancholy that resonated with her own experiences of loss. Deliberately, Kaori proceeded deeper into the heart of the village, where every structure, every broken cobblestone, told an untold story of despair and regret. The ancient church, with its towering spire and weathered bells, seemed to be the epicenter of many ghostly legends. It loomed over the settlement like a silent sentinel, its great doors left ajar, as if inviting the traveler to step into a realm beyond the mortal. Despite the oppressive fear that whispered in her ears, the allure of unraveling the mystery was irresistible, a summons that merged destiny with the somber echoes of an age long past. As the night thickened, the moon emerged, casting a spectral glow that transformed the village into a stage of haunting beauty. Kaori's heart beat in anxious rhythm, with the cadence of the ancient bells echoing in the distance. Shadows, elongated and uncertain, danced across the decrepit walls of abandoned homes and rusted relics. In the midst of the eerie silence, she could almost hear the murmurs of long-dead souls engaged in a sorrowful dialogue with the darkness. Every step on the crumbling streets was imbued with a palpable weight, the burden of a story that had perhaps been waiting for her alone. Wandering through narrow, winding alleys, Kaori began to piece together fragments of the village's tragic narrative. Faded etchings on crumbling walls whispered of a time when the inhabitants believed in rituals that bound their souls to the land. In hushed tones of wind and echoing footsteps, the villagers' lingering sadness manifested itself as sorrowful laments, weaving through the fabric of the night. It was as if each stone carried a fragment of memory, an unfulfilled dream, and every rusted relic was a testament to a once vibrant life now lost under the weight of its own lamentation. The air was heavy with desolation, as Kaori stepped near an old well, its surface covered in creeping moss and the scars of time. The stone structure, etched with indecipherable symbols, seemed to pulse with the energy of past anguish. As she peered into the dark abyss, the reflection of her own face merged with shadows, leaving her with an unsettling sense of duality. The well, a remnant of a forgotten ceremony, appeared as a gateway between the tangible and the ethereal, a silent witness to the tragedies that had befallen the souls who once sought solace within the village walls. Kaori's solitude was interrupted by faint strains of melancholic melody, almost imperceptible against the constant murmur of the wind. Drawn to this spectral music, she discovered a derelict music box half buried under layers of dust and leaves. Its tinkling notes evoked memories of laughter and lingering joy, now transformed into a mournful echo that seemed to plead with time for remembrance. For a brief moment, the sadness that clung to her heart intertwined with the echoes of the past, creating a tapestry of sorrowful beauty that deepened her resolve to uncover the secrets of this cursed landscape. Stepping carefully between ruins draped in ivy, Kaori encountered an ancient stone archway, adorned with carvings of celestial bodies and mystical symbols. This relic, serving as a silent portal between realms, hinted at the spiritual intricacies once revered by the villagers. Each detail of the archway told a story of cosmic balance and fragile hope, a hope that was ultimately sacrificed for an unholy covenant with unknown forces. The weight of the incantations woven into every chiseled line resonated deeply with Kaori, stirring memories of her own lost faith and the desperate longing for redemption. In the periphery of the village's darkest alley, Kaori discovered a cluster of small gravestones, each marked with faded inscriptions that had weathered centuries. These tombs, though devoid of color or bloom, spoke of lives once vibrant and tragically abbreviated. The inscriptions, etched in meticulous script, depicted names and dates that hinted at a collective sorrow, a community bound together by a cursed fate. As she knelt to examine one in particular, the cold marble seemed to pulse with a timeless grief, urging her to honor the silent cries of those who had become endless shades in the continuum of their haunted existence. Following a narrow vine-entwined pathway, Kaori arrived at the ruins of a farmhouse that had once been a haven for community and laughter. Now, the dilapidated structure echoed with the remnants of a life abandoned, a poignant metaphor for the inevitable decay of hope. Within the ramshackle walls, scattered remnants of daily life lay like ghostly echoes. A broken cup here, a shattered relic there, all silent witnesses to a sudden exodus of dreams and relationships. Each fragment resonated with an indescribable loss, a reminder that even the gentlest warmth had been swallowed by the pervasive chill of the village. The ominous darkness of the night was punctuated by the gentle glow of flickering candlelight, casting eerie shadows that merged with the spectral ambience of the village. Kaori sought shelter in what remained of an old chapel, its stained glass windows shattered, yet revealing fragments of divine artistry. She carefully traced the remnants of illuminated scenes, each stained hue and jagged line evoking both spiritual beauty and human tragedy. The gentle hum of the wind through broken panes created a harmonic dirge that spoke of faith lost amidst calamity, and of souls reaching out for the solace that never came. As Kaori navigated the crumbling sanctuary, she uncovered a dusty ledger concealed within the remnants of a shattered altar. The brittle pages detailed accounts of ceremonies, invocations, and desperate attempts at penance by the fallen villagers. The elegant script and poetic laments on each page narrated an account of hope entwined with despair, a stark reminder of the fragile nature of human ambition in the face of the unknown. The ledger, a time capsule of sorrowful confessions, provided not only clues to the ancestral curse, but also a reflective mirror to her own relentless pursuit of meaning in a world haunted by loss. Outside the sanctuary, the village whispered secrets through the rustle of brittle leaves and the creaking of time-worn beams. Kaori pressed onward, her senses heightened by each creak and moan of the ancient structures, as if they were speaking her name in an unearthly chorus. The overarching silence was intermittently punctuated by the distant echoes of footsteps that seemed to mirror her own, forming an unsettling symphony of suspense. In that liminal space between light and darkness, every shadow appeared as if imbued with a melancholy longing, a spectral reminder that life and sorrow were inextricably interwoven in these forsaken grounds. Venturing beyond the main thoroughfare, Kaori discovered a labyrinth of narrow alleyways where the fabric of time itself seemed to unravel. Here, the natural decay of the village blended with eerie phenomena. Walls bore inscriptions that grew more vivid in the dim glow of twilight, and personal belongings scattered near doorways whispered of lives abruptly interrupted. It was a realm where reason gave way to the inexplicable, where the past and the present converged into a reality that was both painful and profoundly surreal. Each footstep resonated with the weight of centuries, urging Kaori to decipher the cryptic messages embedded within the very stones beneath her feet. Among the labyrinth of overgrown paths, a peculiar clearing revealed the ruins of a market square, once a bustling heart of communal vitality. In the center stood a weathered stone fountain, its carvings depicting mythic creatures locked in a silent struggle, now eroded to barely discernible forms. The soft murmurs of the wind caressed the fountain's cool, damp surface, as if attempting to revive the jubilant spirit of festivals long past. For Kaori, this moment of solitude and reflection was a poignant interlude, a chance to confront the echoes of joy that had been extinguished by the weight of an unyielding curse, and the relentless sorrow that haunted each step. Near the ruins of the old market, Kaori discovered a narrow bridge arched gracefully over a stagnant stream. The water, dark and motionless, reflected the battered remnants of a once thriving village, a mirror that captured the beauty and tragedy intertwined in the landscape. As she paused on the creaking wooden planks, the sounds of the past seemed to ripple softly across the surface, telling quiet stories of lost love and forgotten dreams. Though the scene was steeped in melancholy, there was a delicate harmony in the interplay of shadow and reflection, a silent promise that amidst despair, the essence of life's fragile beauty could still be glimpsed. The atmosphere grew increasingly spectral as Kaori journeyed toward the outskirts of the village, where an ancient cemetery lay undisturbed by time. Tombstones, weathered and worn smooth by nature's unrelenting caress, formed a solemn mosaic of memory and mourning. In the delicate interplay of moonlight and shadow, every stone inscribed with faint, time-worn letters conveyed heartfelt sorrow and unspoken farewells. Here, in this sanctuary of the departed, Kaori could almost feel the weight of the villagers' unyielding grief, a palpable aura that wrapped around her, urging her to bear witness to the silent elegies of souls condemned to eternal twilight. With each cautious step through the cemetery, Kaori felt the silent presence of those who had once called this village home, their memories lingering like fragile wisps of breath. The solemn gravestones, some adorned with intricate carvings and others merely smoothed by the elements, exuded an air of sanctity and despair. As she gently ran her fingers along the cold stone surfaces, whispered fragments of forgotten lore seemed to emanate from the very material. A narrative of a community whose devotion and despair were forever intertwined. This spectral communion not only deepened her resolve, but also cast her own heart into a quiet introspection of mortal transience. As Kaori left the cemetery behind, the path led her toward the remnants of an ancient manor that once housed the town's elders and wise folk. The manor's imposing facade, though half swallowed by creeping vines and the relentless march of decay, exuded a muted elegance, suggestive of forgotten grandeur. Each shattered window and fissured wall seemed to harbor echoes of whispered counsel and well-intentioned warnings, as if the very edifice retained a record of the secrets shared over countless generations. In the overgrown courtyard, faded inscriptions and elaborate engravings hinted at rituals and ceremonies designed to ward off malevolent forces. A poignant reminder of a faith that once sought to harness the ethereal. In the desolate courtyard of the manor, Kaori carefully navigated between remnants of a life suspended in sorrow. Broken stone benches and twisted iron grates bore the scars of time, each mark a silent testament to the passage of centuries. As the wind swept through the open space, it carried with it soft echoes of past conversations and laughter sounds that had long since dissolved into despair. Amid the debris of shattered dreams, Kaori found a solitary diary, its cover fragile and its pages yellowed with age. Each entry in the diary painted a picture of a world steeped in hopeful rituals, sorrowful goodbyes, and warnings against meddling with unknown forces. Absorbed in the diary's intimate recollections, Kaori felt the intimate interplay of hope and desolation that had befallen the villagers. The diary recounted detailed accounts of nights spent under starlit skies, where ethereal gatherings and rituals were performed in earnest, seeking to appease the mysterious energies that governed their fate. Though every passage was imbued with a sense of quiet resignation, there was an underlying current of defiant optimism, a belief that even the deepest curses could one day be unraveled by the light of truth. The diary's fragile pages bore the weight of personal regrets and collective tragedies, leaving Kaori with the nagging impression that the bonds of fate could be gently untangled if one dared to confront the past. With the diary safely nestled against her heart, Kaori advanced toward a narrow, vine-wrapped corridor that led to a secluded part of the village rarely seen by outsiders. This hidden passage was marked by clusters of archaic symbols, meticulously carved into the worn stone walls, a secret language etched in homage to forces both enigmatic and omnipresent. As she traversed the passage, the ambient sounds of the village seemed to fade into a hushed silence, leaving only the slow rhythm of her breathing and the soft murmur of inscriptions beneath her fingertips. Each symbol was a small piece of a larger, somber puzzle, a map of pain and longing left behind by those who had once endeavored to break free of their haunting bonds. Emerging from the narrow corridor into a small, secluded clearing, Kaori encountered a relic of nature's reclaiming grip. An ancient oak tree, whose gnarled branches reached desperately skyward. Beneath the tree, a weathered stone slab served as an unmarked memorial, a tribute to the souls lost in the conflagration of old curses and shattered lives. The sight stirred an ineffable mixture of sorrow and empathy within her, echoing the silent screams of generations, silenced by their own misfortunes. In that melancholic clearing, the ache of the past and the quiet persistence of life mingled beneath the star-blanketed sky, inviting Kaori to contemplate the fragile boundaries between human hope and the inexorable march of fate. As Kaori continued to unravel the mystique of the Village of Shadows, she began to notice subtle fluctuations in the atmosphere. The perpetual twilight of the valley, already a canvas for sorrow, now seemed to pulse with an almost tangible energy, a spectral presence that hovered just beyond the periphery of her vision. It was as if the energy of the curse itself was awakening, stirred into restlessness by her determined inquiries. The chill in the air grew ever more pronounced, and every rustle of leaves, every whisper of wind carried with it a hint of mournful secrets and lingering regrets. Kaori felt the stirring of forces not entirely malevolent, but those that demanded acknowledgement in their quiet, tormented way. In a fragile moment of solitude, Kaori sought refuge within the comforting embrace of an ancient stone alcove that had once served as a meeting place for the local council of Eldons. The alcove's walls bore inscriptions of promises and prophecies, each character etched with painstaking care and imbued with a deep sense of solemnity. Bathed in the dim glow of moonlight that filtered through cracks overhead, she traced the inscriptions with reverence. Each stroke of her fingertips ignited memories both personal and collective, a shared sorrow that transcended time and space. The alcove's silence was profound, a sanctuary where lost hopes intertwined with the spiritual echoes of long-forgotten wisdom. As the hours bled into the depths of the night, Kaori encountered a small band of spectral figures congregated at the base of a crumbling archway. They emerged with the quiet grace of shadows, their forms indistinct and flickering like candle flames in a draught. Despite their ethereal nature, their presence was heavy with longing and unresolved sorrow, as if each figure embodied the faded echo of a once vibrant spirit. In their silent communion, Kaori sensed the trace of a ritual, once intended to summon protection against the encroaching darkness. A ritual that had inadvertently bound their souls to the village. Their expressions of eternal grief silently beseeched her to understand the depth of their sacrifice. Driven by an insatiable need to comprehend the full scope of the curse, Kaori pressed deeper into the neglected corridors of the village's past. The spectral figures, though intangible, seemed to guide her steps, their presence a delicate reassurance that she was on the right, albeit perilous path. Over time, the apparitions receded into the surrounding gloom, leaving behind a resonating silence that urged her to uncover the intricate tapestry of history woven into every stone and relic. In each cryptic carving and whispered legend, Kaori felt reflections of her own inner struggle, a poignant dance between despair and the hope that perhaps every shattered piece of a broken life could eventually be mended. Passing by a row of abandoned cottages, Kaori noticed a solitary window that had survived the ravages of time. In that glass, flecked with the remnants of soot and water stains, she glimpsed reflections of a life that once blossomed with love and care. The window, a silent aperture to the souls that had dwelled within, exuded a sense of compassionate melancholy that both comforted and pained her. It was as if the very act of peering through this fragile barrier connected her to a chorus of voices yearning to be remembered. In the quiet solitude of that fragile moment, Kaori recognized the intricate balance of beauty and sorrow intrinsic to every life touched by destiny's cruel hand. Wandering onward, Kaori ascended a narrow, crumbling stairway that led her to the ruins of what appeared to have been a small outpost or watchtower. From this vantage point, the full expanse of the valley unfurled before her, a morose panorama of ancient stone spires, neglected pathways, and the vast, enveloping fog that seemed to guard each secret. Here, the bitter wind whispered timeless tales of unfulfilled promise and spectral guardians who had watched over the village in ages past. As she gazed upon the vastness of the haunted landscape, Kaori felt both a profound isolation and an inexplicable kinship with the souls embedded in the very earth, as if their fates were inextricably interwoven with hers. Descending from the tower, Kaori was drawn to the central square of the village, where the ground itself was etched with intricate sigils and archaic designs. These markings, whose meaning had long been obscured by the relentless advance of time, hinted at a ceremonious past where the villagers had invoked forces beyond mortal ken. The engraving seemed to pulse with a quiet urgency, their subtle vibrations resonating deep in her core, as if calling out for liberation from an age-old curse. As she knelt and placed her hand upon the cool, damp stone, she felt a surge of sorrow and determination. A silent pact that she would confront and decipher the mystery that had ensnared this forlorn haven. Venturing toward the fringes of the village, Kaori discovered a once sacred boundary marked by towering stone pillars entwined with creeping ivy and faded tapestries of archaic symbols. The pillars, remnants of an ancient rite intended to ward off malevolent forces, were now barely distinguishable amid the relentless decay. Yet, they still commanded a quiet dignity, exuding the echoes of solemn oaths and blessed rituals. Each pillar seemed to resonate with an energy that was at once both protective and mournfully entrapping, embodying the paradox of a barrier meant to keep out darkness while simultaneously imprisoning the very souls it was designed to shield. As Kaori carefully examined the pillars, she encountered inscriptions that outlined a prophesied salvation, a promise that once the curse was deciphered and unraveled, the spectral congregation of the village might finally find eternal peace. The words, though worn by the passage of countless years, rang with an unwavering hope that transcended despair. In the flickering light of her solitary lantern, the inscriptions shimmered, casting intricate shadows that danced upon the aged stone. This intermingling of hope and melancholy stirred in Kaori a newfound determination, a conviction that even the deepest sorrow held the seed of redemption, waiting patiently to bloom in the light of understanding. The journey grew ever more labyrinthine as Kaori traversed hidden paths, overrun with tangled brambles and silken threads of a fog that obscured the known world. Each step was a careful negotiation with the spectral forces that had long claimed dominion over the village. The echoes of whispered incantations and subtle lamentations from unseen entities filled the air with a persistent, heart-wrenching call to remembrance. Despite the pervasive chill and the weight of untold sorrows, Kaori's resolve deepened. Every carefully chosen footfall and each thoughtful pause became part of her slow yet deliberate quest to piece together the fragmented narrative of a tragedy that spanned generations. In a secluded clearing at the edge of the village, Kaori encountered an eerie garden where nature had reclaimed its dominion over what had once been a carefully tended sanctuary. Here, wild roses and thorny vines intermingled with the skeletal remains of wrought iron benches and rusted lanterns. The garden exuded an air of bittersweet nostalgia, resonating with the laughter of days gone by and the persistent sigh of an unyielding fate. As she wandered among the flora, the delicate interplay of decay and defiant life stirred emotions of both melancholy and hope. The garden, though haunted by the echoes of loss, was also a testament to resilience, a gentle reminder that beauty often arises from even the most desolate of circumstances. Rejuvenated by the garden's quiet embrace, Kaori pressed on toward the heart of the curse that had bound the village in perpetual twilight. Her determined footsteps led her along a forgotten trail that wound its way toward an imposing stone edifice. This structure, cloaked in vines and half obscured by the ever-present mist, was rumored to be the epicenter of the ancient ritual that had ensnared the souls of the villagers for eternity. As she approached, the palpable hum of energy from the edifice stirred the air, and an overwhelming aura of sorrow and mystery enveloped her. In that charged moment, Kaori could almost perceive the hopeful echoes of a time when the edifice had served as a beacon of guidance for those seeking divine favor. With cautious resolve, Kaori pushed open a heavy, creaking door that led into the dim interior of the ancient edifice. Inside, the atmosphere was simultaneously oppressive and reverent, a cryptic blend of sacred ritual and lingering sorrow. The interior walls were lined with faded murals that depicted celestial events, earthly sacrifices, and the eternal cycle of life and decay. In the feeble light of her lantern, these murals seemed to move slowly, as if animated by the souls of past inhabitants who sought solace in art. Each carefully rendered image resonated with personal anguish and collective memory, a silent testimony to the power of hope even amid irrevocable loss. As she ventured deeper into the inner sanctum, Kaori uncovered a central chamber that housed an archaic altar, the focal point of the long-forgotten ritual that had cursed the village. Despite the altar's time-worn appearance, intricate carvings and delicate symbols still radiated a subtle luminescence, hinting at a power that defied the bounds of mortal understanding. In this hallowed space, the air was thick with a sense of reverence and profound grief. It was as though the altar held the whispered confessions and unspoken tears of every soul whose fate had been irrevocably altered by the ritual. With measured steps, Kaori circled the altar, her mind racing with possibilities of redemption and the slow, painstaking process of healing that might yet restore balance to the haunted land. Outside, the first tendrils of dawn began to disperse the heavy veil of night, casting a pale, ghostly light upon the village. Kaori stepped out from the sanctum, carrying with her the weight of revelations discovered in the shadowed interior. The spectral figures and soft laments that had once defined the night now softened into a gentle, sorrowful exhale, a farewell of sorts from souls long trapped in a cycle of torment. The early morning air, cool and filled with muted promise, seemed to whisper that even the darkest nights eventually yield to a new dawn. With each rising ray of light, Kaori sensed that the curse, while not yet undone, was perhaps beginning its slow, inevitable dissolution, a poignant metaphor for the fragile resilience of hope in a world marred by endless tragedy. As the village emerged from its cloak of perpetual twilight, Kaori stood in quiet reflection at the threshold between past and future. The haunted landscape, with its crumbling edifices and enduring echoes of sorrow, had imparted to her both a visceral tale of loss and a subtle promise of redemption. In the soft luminescence of the breaking day, each relic, each spectral reminiscence now revealed its true essence. A chronicle of souls entwined in an eternal dance of grief and resilience. With measured determination and a heart both heavy and hopeful, Kaori vowed to carry the lessons of this cursed valley into her own life, a tribute to those who had suffered, and a reminder that even in the darkest moments, the fragile light of understanding could spark the beginning of healing.